It was August 2019. I found myself enjoying a typical summertime Saturday in the South. I'd spent most of the day running errands, cleaning the house, and then I topped it all off with a trip to grab my favorite coffee. Okay. It was wine. I grabbed some wine. After such an eventful day, once I got home, I decided to also grab a quick nap. But little did I know just how differently things would be the moment I decided to wake up. When I woke up, I found myself in the most excruciating pain I'd ever endured. I could barely open my eyes, and any hint of light felt like a dagger jolting through both of my eyeballs. I was suddenly thrust into having to navigate my world in darkness, and life as I knew it was unexpectedly disrupted. 2 hospitals later, I was finally being treated. I was in a frenzy, and so was the medical team that surrounded me. But once things calmed down and the doctor came to fill me in on my prognosis, imagine my surprise when I heard the words, "This is a pretty bad case, and there is a possibility that the temporary loss of sight in your right eye may not be temporary." I don't know about you, but for me, being in the midst of darkness and disruption is definitely not a comfortable disposition. It's like you're in this space where it's difficult to see what's even right in front of you and nearly impossible to predict what's going to happen next. But despite the presence of chaos, work, life, responsibilities, and demands continue to require you to show up. And let's be honest, the anxiety factor increases a few notches when you have other people looking to you for guidance. That notion applies whether you're the head of a family unit, in command of a Fortune 500 leadership team, or somewhere in between. It all counts. So here I was, a corporate trainer, an executive coach, a wife, my parents' only child, a dog mom, working full-time as an educator in special education. Here I was, serving in roles where other people would be looking to me to lead them through a turbulence I'd never had to weather before myself. I mean, maybe you've never experienced loss of your eyesight, but it's no secret that some essence of the same darkness and disruption I speak of engulfed millions of homes and workplaces alike in the wake of the 2020 global pandemic. Like so many leaders right now, clambering to move themselves and others beyond the darkness and disruption, I found myself the captain of a ship in uncharted waters. I quickly realized that there may have been many variables that I didn't have control over. But in that moment, I made a decision to narrate the heck out of the variables I could control. So, here are the 4 pillars of visionary leadership that I had to lean on in a moment of darkness and disruption to develop the leadership of myself and those connected to me. Because the thing is, when you're tapped into your vision, you can see even when your sight is obstructed. One of the first things I asked the doctor when he finally came to discharge me was, when will my sight be good enough to drive again? This was extremely important to me because the hospital was over an hour away from my home. And I learned that I would need to make daily trips to the hospital for treatment and monitoring until further notice. The weight that came with his response was deafening. He said, "Well, After a couple of days, I suggest you go ahead and start practicing driving with your sight as is, because with the severity of your condition, your sight may not be restored. And if it is, it most likely won't be to the strength it was previously. Something happened though. I remember almost as immediately as he said it, I rebutted, "Oh, no, sir. I'm getting my eyesight back, and I'm getting it back to 100%. This is also probably a good time to say, I don't know, maybe a disclaimer. All sad remarks are my own and do not constitute medical advice in any way whatsoever." But honestly, when the doctor filled me in on my prognosis, I responded without thought, with an automaticity that even somewhat surprised me. Where was this inner confidence arising from so assuredly and so determined that despite how bleak the statistics, the research, or even the medical experts sitting directly in front of me predicted my outcome would be, how was it that despite it all, I was so confident that I'd achieve the outcome that I desired? Mindset. It was mindset. Everything we do must first flow from the mind. See, over the previous year and a half, I had been focused on my personal development. I was reading self-help books. I had started listening to inspirational podcasts, investing in personal development coaching. Each of these small steps to small decisions to prioritize my personal growth, they were planting these mental seeds that were being tilled for such a time as this. See, I didn't realize it at the time, but I've been actively rewiring the way I saw myself. I was more in tune with my strengths, my true desires, and how to thwart any thought, belief, or information that did not align with who I knew myself to be. Research indicates that your eyes simply take in light, but your mind interprets what to do with it. As a visionary leader, your mindset is the driving force behind what you believe is possible. I even recall a sermon by millennial pastor, Pastor Michael Todd, where he emphasized that sight is what you see when your eyes are wide open. But vision is what you see when your eyes are closed shut. So I ask, what do you see as truth about you when your eyes are closed? When situations are not ideal and you're thrust into a sea of uncertainty, what do you believe to be true about your team? What do you see as truth about the ability to carry out the vision together? How can you help others connected to you rewire the way they see themselves for the better? Because whatever it is that you believe, you then base everything else around that. In that moment of darkness and disruption, when the doctor gave me that less than ideal prognosis, I believed that my willpower, in conjunction with my family and my team's commitment to support me, was more than enough to carry us to breakthrough. And so I believed it with so much surety, and I had been programming myself to believe it for so long, it happened automatically. It rubbed off on my family, my team, and even my doctor. On the ride home, after being discharged from the hospital, I immediately had my husband chauffeur me to grab my favorite coffee, because coffee always makes things better, right? Oh, and by the way, it really was coffee this time. Living over an hour away also meant that I had plenty of time to tap dance with my thoughts and reflect on what had transpired, as well as explore what I envisioned for my future. See, as a visionary leader, it's important to give yourself space to decide what your desired outcome even is. Sometimes, in a haste to make movement, we painstakingly glide into a direction that we end up despising. Like one scoop too many of ice cream, or 1 hour too long of a meeting, or one proposal too complex. That's why the second pillar is outlook. Even with your eyes closed, what do you see for the future? Upon arriving home, my family, business network, clients, and my job were all bubbling with questions about what was the plan and how could they support it. But the truth is, my family, my business, my clients, my coworkers, they couldn't fully buy into the vision nor fully commit to following through if they were not first clear on what we were actually working toward and what their part was. And that clarity could only come as a result of me having the ability to communicate the vision in a crystal clear way. What does that mean for you? It means take time to explore the possibilities and then decide, even sometimes collectively, which of these possibilities you and your team will pursue, and then effectively communicate the plan with them, even if it's just an overarching sketch. But the truth is, though, you can have the winner's mindset and a presidential outlook. However, you must also assess the vision by measuring its V word. The third pillar is viability. What tools, resources, connections do you and your team need to carry out the vision fruitfully? While we all understood at this point that the plan was Operation Get Brittany's Sight Back, I had to strategically collaborate with the people connected to the vision to co-create the how and the who. Because here's the thing, in order for me to gain access to the proper treatment, I need things like transportation, an hour each way to the hospital daily. I would need to delegate many of the tasks in my business because my usual capability to just hop on a laptop and do whatever I needed to was obstructed. There were household chores that I could no longer uphold my end of the stick on. I mean, much like many households and workplaces right now have been thrust into cracking the code on how to thrive via unusual methods. You know, virtual meetings versus face-to-face, kids playing outside, yet maintaining 6 feet of separation, a basketball stadium with seats holding screens that showcase the faces of virtual attendees. The key to establishing a vision's viability is to laser in on discovering individual strengths and leveraging them to lay the framework for powerful action. This allows team members to operate in their zone of genius and grow their skills without burnout nor unnecessary resistance. Prime example, my mom volunteered to fill in as my driver since her retirement schedule allowed for it. And in the process, she learned that she was a better driver than she thought she was, because this experience pushed her to drive distances she typically never would have. My husband chipped in to help with household errands because he knew that our household necessities were most accessible to him. And in the process, learned how to handle some new things around the house he had probably never even thought twice about before. Listen, my dog even adapted his outside play schedule because I wasn't able to move around outside without tripping over sticks and other things. So ask your team, how can we get this done in a way that's viable? And then after establishing viability, it's time to execute. Your most powerful actions will take place as a result of leveraging the strengths of each person connected to the vision. While I had never expected to lose my sight, it taught me how to lean into what I could see, even with my eyes closed. And it challenged me to discover just how vividly I could convey that vision to others in a way that they wanted to be a part despite the incertitude of the future. I truly believe that the mindset, outlook, and viability pillars of visionary leadership equip stakeholders with a framework to execute the vision with crystal clear clarity and unwavering confidence. In less than 30 days after losing my eyesight, it was restored to 20/20 clarity, actually much better than it even was before the incident. That's the beauty of visionary leadership if you do it right. You can leverage loss to restore and redefine the standard of performance. So when you find yourself in darkness and uncertainty, wondering how to leverage disruption to develop leaders, just remember to move. M, mindset. O, outlook. V, viability. E, execute. Thank you.